I did. Yes, I did. I can't believe I did that.
Our story starts on October 12, 2012, in Highland Heights, Kentucky, when local dispatchers received a 911 call from 21-year-old Shayna Hubers, claiming she killed her boyfriend, Ryan Poston, in self-defense.
Campbell County 911.
Ma'am, I killed my boyfriend in self-defense.
Okay, where are you at?
I'm at 12 Meadow Lane, Highland Heights, Kentucky.
What did you kill him with?
A loaded gun in the house.
Tell me where the gun is right now.
The gun is in the house.
Where at though, ma'am? Tell me where it's at.
I laid it on the bookshelf.
Okay, are you sure that he is dead?
He's dead, ma'am. He's completely dead.
Okay. And how long ago did you shoot him?
I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, not even that long.
10 or 15 minutes ago?
Yeah. He beat me and tried to carry me out of the house, and I came back in to get my things, and he was right in front of me, and he reached down and grabbed the gun, and I grabbed it out of his hand and pulled the trigger.
Okay. All right. Do you need an ambulance? Have you been injured?
I'm not injured, ma'am. I was thrown into the side of the couch.
Have you had a history of domestic violence with him?
Yes.
Okay. And is this your gun?
No, this is his gun. He keeps loaded guns in the house. And he picked me up and was carrying me out of the house. And I said, let me get my things at least if we're going to break up. And he wouldn't let me get my things. And when I reached around to try to get my things, he pushed me down from the door all the way to the couch. And when they come here, they'll see how far that is. He threw me across the room. And I was very startled. I was laying on the floor.
Okay. All right.
And I killed him.
As y'all heard, Shayna claimed Ryan had been physically abusive and that he attacked her. She said she retrieved his gun and shot him in self-defense. When police arrived at Ryan Poston's condo, they found him dead, lying on the floor near his dining table. He had been shot 6 times, including 2 shots to the face, one of which was point blank through his forehead. Ryan Carter Poston was a 29-year-old attorney from Highland Heights, Kentucky. He came from a well-off and respected family with a promising future. Ryan had studied law at the University of Cincinnati and was working at his father's law firm. He was described as ambitious, confident, and driven. It was in 2011 that he met Shayna Hubers. She was a psychology student at the time at the University of Kentucky. The two met through a mutual friend, and they already knew each other on social media. From the outside, to their friends and people who knew them, they seemed happy together, but behind that facade, their relationship was rocky and full of arguments. Sometimes even the neighbors could hear them fighting. Shayna was reportedly more attached to Ryan than he was to her, and that imbalance made the relationship unhealthy. Family members mentioned that Shayna even wanted to marry Ryan, but he didn't seem interested. Ryan had told friends he wanted to break up with her permanently, but Shayna wasn't the kind of person to take no for an answer. Back at the crime scene, Shayna was arrested immediately, and as the investigation began, investigators noticed there were no signs of a true struggle inside Ryan's apartment. There were no visible injuries on Shayna either. That's when they started to question her claims of self-defense. Investigators also discovered that the weapon used was owned by Ryan, and the shots were fired at close range. The autopsy revealed that some of the bullets entered at downward angles, suggesting he was sitting down when he was shot. He was likely shot while already incapacitated or dying, based on the bullet trajectories and blood evidence. What investigators also found were text messages between the two. Ryan had been trying to get away from Shayna in the days leading up to the murder. She was abusive toward him and constantly harassed him, even through text. Shayna sent dozens of messages per day when Ryan tried to cut contact. In the days before the shooting, she had even searched online. What happens to someone when they are shot in the head? But what really drew national attention to this case was the way she acted while being questioned the night of the murder.
And in the middle of him doing something with his arm or saying something crazy, shot him. And I thought, oh my God, what have I done? You know? And he was laying with his face on the table, like twitching. And so I knew he was going to die a very slow and painful death. I knew he was already dead, you know, and within the next 20 seconds, within the next 2 minutes, I knew he was going to be dead. And he was in a lot of pain. He was twitching, he was moaning, but he was ultimately dead. And so I shot him enough times to kill him so that he wouldn't suffer. At that point, which was a few more times. And I shot him, I think I shot him twice, thought he was completely dead, and he was laying there still, twitching and making noises. And I shot him in the head. I probably should have left it there, but I knew he was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Or have a very deformed face.
And you were concerned.
And I knew, oh no, he would have died. He was already dying. He was dying. But I just walked around the table and shot him where I knew he would die immediately. And fast. His obsession with guns killed him. You know, I would have never, I'm so Democrat, I would have never touched a gun in my life until I dated him. How sweet the sound that sings He had put his arm across the table, and there's a lamp, and he had put his arm across the table and had it in my face and was screaming at me at the top of his lungs after he had thrown me around the room, and was saying emotionally to me, "You're a f***ing hillbilly. I f***ing hate you. I hate everything about you for what you are, and my family." And he was screaming it, and he had his hand on the table, and he wasn't completely standing up. He was like this.
So it was like,
He was sitting, he was enough that when I shot him, he went like this. Literally. That's when I knew he was dead. Or close to it, and twitching. And I couldn't, I let him, I still, even though the hurt, I still, enough of me, loved him. But I couldn't stand to watch him twitch. I knew he was going to die or have a completely deformed face. He's very vain. One of our last conversations we had that was good was that he wants my best friend who's a dentist to do his veneers and wants to get a nose job. Just that kind of person. And I shot him right here. I gave him his nose job. He wanted. I broke it. I'm not your typical murderer. No, not the one that you see on death row. He said, "You're just a hillbilly from Kentucky." And I am. I guess Just the hillbilly came out of me. I took that for myself. None of it matters now. It's the worst thing I've ever done my whole life. But I feel like it's bad that part of me doesn't feel bad about it. And a part of me does, you know what I mean? Part of me is like, he hit me, he threw me. You just don't treat a woman like that. I was in high school and she was a convicted felon. She told me that the women that she went for cocaine. She told me that the women that she got along with in jail or prison are the women that were there because they had killed their husbands. And said that hell has no fury like a woman's scorn. Never believed it until now. And I wasn't doing anything that was mean. I was begging him to stay in the relationship and be with me because I knew that we weren't really loving each other. Ryan had told me that he loved me and wanted to be with me. And I guess somewhere along the way that grew to hate. He was screaming how much he hated me. I don't know if anyone will ever want to marry me if they know that I killed a boyfriend in self-defense. It's not funny, but the stuff he was saying to me was so abusive while he was throwing me around the room. I'll never forget it. I think in the midst of that, my love turned to hate, and I remember screaming, reaching up to grab the shirt. You, how dare you mock my family? How dare you? I wasn't doing anything that was mean. I was begging him to stay in the relationship and be with me because I knew that we weren't really loving each other. Ryan had told me that he loved me and wanted to be with me. And I guess somewhere along the way that grew to hate. He was screaming how much he hated me. I don't know if anyone will ever want to marry me if they know that I killed a boyfriend in self-defense. It's not funny, but the stuff he was saying to me was so abusive while he was throwing me around the room. I'll never forget it. I think in the midst of that, my love turned to hate, and I remember screaming, reaching up to grab the shirt. You, how dare you mock my family? How dare you talk you speak poorly of my mother and my family? If I don't get any serious consequences, that I could really be happy just having a career and maybe not even ever getting married, because this is very traumatic, It's very traumatic for me to live with it. I have to know that I did that for someone that I told every day, I love you.
Recorded just hours after the murder, the video shows Shayna in the Highland Heights Police Department interview room acting in a way that many found disturbing. While speaking calmly and at length without a lawyer, she admitted to shooting Ryan Poston 6 times, even saying she fired additional shots to stop his twitching. Throughout the footage, she displayed bizarre behavior, pacing, striking poses, and at one point dancing and singing Amazing Grace. She also made unsettling remarks like, I gave him the nose job he always wanted, referring to shooting him in the face. Her lack of visible remorse, along with the strange and inappropriate behavior, was used by prosecutors to show her state of mind and undermine her claim of self-defense. Shayna Hubers' first trial began in April 2015 in Campbell County, Kentucky. Prosecutors argued that she killed Ryan Poston out of jealousy and her refusal to accept the end of their relationship. They presented text messages, interrogation footage, and testimony from Ryan's friends and family to show that he had tried multiple times to cut ties with her. Shayna claimed self-defense, saying Ryan had been abusive and that she feared for her life. On April 23, 2015, the jury found her guilty of murder and sentenced her to 40 years in prison. However, in 2016, her conviction was overturned after it was discovered that one of the jurors was a convicted felon, which made them ineligible to serve. A second trial was held in August 2018 with much of the same evidence presented. Once again, Shayna claimed she acted in self-defense, but the jury wasn't convinced. On August 28, 2018, she was convicted of murder for a second time and sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 20 years.